Her laugh bounced off the marble lobby like it belonged there, bright and careless. And then the elevator doors opened and I saw it. Hanging at the hollow of her throat, catching the overhead lights in a familiar blue flash, my anniversary necklace. The one that was supposed to be in a velvet box on my dresser. The one my husband swore was being resized because he wanted it to sit perfectly. My body went cold, so fast my fingertips tingled, like my blood had decided to leave the room before my brain could. I didn't move at first. I just stood there with my tote bag, cutting into my shoulder and the taste of burnt coffee still on my tongue, staring as if staring hard enough could make the scene rearrange itself into something normal. My husband, Ethan, was beside me, a warm hand landing on the inside of my elbow like a quiet warning. Not comforting, containing. He leaned in, mouth near my ear, voice low and controlled like we were negotiating something delicate. "Trust me," he said, like those two words were a bandage you slap over a wound you don't want anyone to see bleeding. It was a Thursday, technically. Our anniversary had been the week before, and Ethan had insisted we celebrate on the weekend because work is insane right now. He'd said it the way he always said it, half apology, half brag, like chaos was proof he mattered. We'd been married 7 years, together 11, long enough that I knew his rhythms, the way he smoothed his tie when he was stressed, the way he got extra charming when he was guilty about something he couldn't fix. Long enough that I'd learned how to be low maintenance in the ways that made life easier for both of us. I don't mean I was a doormat. I mean I stopped expecting romance to arrive on time. I stopped being surprised when his calendar won. But this year, he'd actually tried. Or at least, he'd done the part that looks like trying. On our anniversary, he came home with a small bag from a jewelry store I recognized, the kind with thick paper and rope handles, and he had this careful, proud expression like he'd nailed something important. "Open it," he'd said, standing too close, watching my hands. Inside was a velvet box. Inside there was a necklace with a sapphire pendant, deep blue, the kind of color that looks expensive because it doesn't even try to be loud. There was a tiny engraving on the back, our wedding date. I remember my throat tightening when I saw it. Not because it was flashy, Ethan doesn't do flashy, but because it felt personal in a way he doesn't always reach for. I put on right there in the kitchen, in my socks, leaning toward the microwave door like it was a mirror, and he watched with this satisfied little smile. "Perfect," he'd said. "It's you." Then, 2 days later, it was gone. I didn't notice immediately because I don't wear jewelry to work much. I'm a nurse. I wash my hands constantly. I shove my hair into a bun and spend 12 hours being touched by strangers who need things from me. When I got home, I wanted showers and silence, not accessories. So when I reached for the necklace on Wednesday night, because I thought maybe wearing it would make the week feel less like a treadmill, the box was empty. I tore through my dresser. I checked the bathroom counter. I lifted couch cushions like the necklace might have crawled away. Ethan watched from the doorway with his phone in his hand, and his eyebrows raised like he was mildly inconvenienced by my panic. "Maybe you left it in the car," he said. "I wore it in the kitchen," I said. My voice was already too sharp. "I took it off before bed. It should be here." He sighed and walked over, crouched down like he was joining the search, and then he said, "Okay, don't freak out." I took it. I remember freezing, one hand still in a drawer. "You took it." He nodded like it was obvious. I realized the chain length is slightly off. It sits too high. I'm getting it resized. I wanted it to be perfect. He said it so smoothly, with such casual authority, that my brain accepted it before my gut got a vote. "Why wouldn't you tell me?" I asked. I was going to, he said, kissing my forehead like I was being silly. "I didn't want you to worry. And because we've been together long enough that I know how to move past small weird moments, I'll let it go." I told myself it was sweet. I told myself it was romantic in his own Ethan way. Fast forward to Thursday in that lobby. I was there because Ethan had asked me to meet him for lunch near his office. That alone was unusual. He'd sent a message that morning, short, efficient, saying he had a window and wanted to see me. I'd pictured a rushed sandwich, a hand on my knee under the table, a little normalcy. I'd driven into the city in my scrubs, under a coat, hair still damp from my post-shift shower, feeling tired but weirdly hopeful. The building lobby was all glass and polished stone and curated silence. Men in suits moved like they were part of the system. Women in heels clicked across the floor with coffee cups held like status symbols. I stood near the security desk, texting Ethan that I'd arrived when the elevator doors opened and a group spilled out, laughing, talking over each other, led by a woman I recognized from photos on his desk. Marissa, Ethan's secretary. I'd seen her in passing a few times. Young but not a kid. Late 20s maybe. Perfect blowout hair. Professional makeup that somehow looked effortless. She always wore neutrals and smiles and the kind of confidence you can't buy, only practice. And around her neck, right there against her skin, was the sapphire pendant. My sapphire pendant. The engraving flashed in my mind like a siren. Our wedding date. A private thing. A thing that should have made it impossible for anyone else to wear it without it feeling like theft. Marissa kept walking, still laughing at something someone said, totally unaware that my entire nervous system had locked on her throat like a predator. Then she glanced over, and her smile faltered for a fraction of a second, just a tiny stumble in her expression, before she recovered and looked away. That tiny stumble told me everything. Ethan appeared a moment later, coming through the glass doors from the street like he'd timed it perfectly. He saw me, smiled, and then his eyes flicked past me to Marissa. Something in his face shifted. Not much. Just a tightening around his mouth. The kind of micro-expression people don't notice unless they've spent years studying someone's tells. I didn't say, "That's my necklace," even though it screamed inside me. I didn't cause a scene. I don't know if that was strength or shock. I just turned my head slightly toward Ethan and said, very calmly, "Why is your secretary wearing my anniversary gift?" He didn't answer immediately, and in that pause, I could hear everything in the lobby again. The murmur of voices, the hiss of the revolving door, the soft ping of an elevator arriving. My heart was thudding so hard it made my vision pulse at the edges. Ethan's hand tightened on my elbow. "Not here," he said quietly, and there it was again, control wrapped in gentleness. "Trust me, that's not an answer," I said. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, too even. He leaned closer, smile still pasted on like we were fine. "It's complicated." I stared at him. "It's a necklace," I said. "It's not a tax audit." His jaw tightened. She helped me pick it," he said, like that explained anything. "We were comparing chains. I asked her to try it on for a second, so I could see how it's Saturday. Then why is she wearing it out of the elevator like it's hers?" I asked, still calm, which honestly scared me. I felt like my body had gone into some clinical mode. Observe, assess, don't fall apart until you're somewhere safe. Ethan's eyes flicked around, checking who might be watching. That right there, the fact that his first instinct was optics, was like someone turning a key in a lock I didn't know existed. "Can we please just go upstairs?" he murmured. "Lunch. We'll talk." I looked past him. Marissa and her little group were already halfway across the lobby, heading toward a set of glass doors that led deeper into the building. She didn't look back. She didn't take it off. She didn't touch the pendant like it was borrowed. It sat on her like it belonged. "No," I said. Ethan blinked. No, I repeated, and my hand started shaking a little now, like my body was catching up to my brain. "I want it back." "Okay," he said quickly, too quickly. "Okay, I'll get it. Just give me a second." He released my elbow and walked briskly after her, that practiced office stride he uses when he wants to look decisive. I stood there and watched him catch up, watched him lean in, watched Marissa's shoulders stiffen. She turned her head slightly, listened, nodded once, then reached up and unclasped the necklace with fingers that didn't tremble. She handed it to him without looking at it like it meant anything. Ethan came back holding it in his fist, chain looped around his fingers like a piece of evidence. He offered it to me with a smile that was supposed to smooth everything over. I didn't take it right away. I stared at it. The sapphire swung slightly, catching the light, looking innocent and gorgeous and suddenly dirty. When I finally took it, the chain felt cool against my skin. Familiar in the worst way. "See," Ethan said softly. "It's fine, is it?" I asked, and I kept my eyes on his face. Because your manager called me last week asking why you weren't at a meeting, and you told me you were stuck in traffic, and now your secretary is wearing a necklace engraved with our wedding date like it's part of her outfit. So tell me what's fine. His face drained a little. Not fully. Just enough that I could see the truth trying to sit behind his eyes. He swallowed. You're overreacting. And there it was. The pivot. The attempt to make my reality the problem. I laughed once, but it didn't sound like humor. It sounded like something snapping. I'm not, I said. I'm finally reacting the correct amount. Ethan lowered his voice. Please, he said. You're making this into something it's not. I held the necklace up between us, letting the pendant swing. Then what is it? I asked, because I can think of one very obvious thing. He didn't answer, and his silence wasn't neutral. It was loud. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the necklace. I didn't slap him, even though I could feel all that messy movie rage trying to rise. I just stepped back and said, I'm going home. Renee, he started, using my name like it was a leash. I cut him off. Don't, I said. Don't follow me. Don't call me. Don't try to explain this in a lobby. His nostrils flared, and for a second he looked angry at me, not ashamed of himself. And that was the moment I knew I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. I was inconvenient. I drove home with the necklace clenched in my hand, so hard the chain bit into my palm. When I got inside, I didn't put it back in the velvet box. I set it on the kitchen counter like a dead thing. Later that night, he came home acting like he was walking into a storm he could outsmart. He started with apologies that sounded rehearsed. He tried it didn't mean anything. He tried she came on to me. He tried I was stressed. He tried we never. And then he stopped mid-sentence because he saw my face, and he realized I wasn't interested in the version of events that protected him. I asked him one question, how long? He hesitated, and that hesitation told the truth more clearly than any confession could. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't throw him out that night. I just slept in the guest room with my scrubs folded on a chair and the necklace locked in my glove box like it was radioactive. I don't know exactly what my marriage becomes after this. I just know that when he said trust me in that lobby, what he really meant was be quiet so I can keep living like this. And I can't do that anymore. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching. And if you've ever had someone try to turn your instincts into a problem, especially when the evidence was sitting right in front of you, feel free to share your story in the comments.